Oh, really?
Good. How are you? Echo fixed.
Yeah, I'm fixed. Amazon is delivering it between
Yeah, I
10.
didn't pull that trigger yet. She's gonna have
How's it going, Scott?
yeah.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone and call to order the study meeting of the West Valley City Council this March 10th, 2026. We're beginning our at 4:31 p.m. in the multipurpose room of West Valley City Hall. Members of the council present are Councilman Norfelt, Councilmember Wood, Councilmember Whetstone, Councilmember Harmon, Councilmember Christensen, and Councilmember Hune is excused. And then myself. And then we're joined at the table by our city reporter, Ms. Kamick, and city manager, Mr. Peely. We have our minutes from February 24th. They're both to council for discussion or a motion. We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye. Okay, and those stand approved. We'll review our meeting for this evening. Are there any additions or changes? Question on tonight's regular meeting? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to our proclamations. We have a proclamation declaring April 6th through the 10th of 2026 National Community Development Week. And did somebody want to talk on that? Okay, Peggy? Okay.
Well, thank you for having us. We're very excited this year too. This is our first time celebrating here in the city for us, and so we're very excited to share some information with you. Over the last 3 years, we have received approximately just over $1 million in CDBG funds, and we have spent those in various ways throughout the city, and so we're very excited about that. Our home rehabilitation program, which is where we spend the majority of our funds, they did 25 houses last year. We did serve 765 individuals through our public facilities and 30,472 individuals through our public services. So we're very excited to ask for a proclamation this year to help us celebrate that in connection with that during the next regular session of the council. We'll be holding an open house out in the foyer, and we've invited some of our subrecipients to be there, and so people can talk to them. So we invite you to come and attend that. We'll also be doing a site tour on April 7th. We'll have a light lunch, and then we'll leave City Hall around 1 o'clock to go visit some of our locations that we have spent our CDBG funds on. So we've got some handouts for you, and we're just excited to be here to share our success with you. So, anybody have any questions?
Questions?
No? All right.
Okay, thank you.
We'll pass out some funds, and anybody else that wants to take an invitation that's left is welcome to attend.
Okay, thank you. We'll acknowledge that Councilmember Hune is here. Is there anyone from the council who would like to read this proclamation next on the 10th? Now, what day is that going to be released? The 24th of March. Pardon?
That we have.
Thank you.
Can I just mention something?
Sure.
And I think I'm okay with this project. Thrilled that we're using the CBDG funds. I just wonder how sometimes we have proclamations that don't seem to tie in with what we do, or not actionable. Just wonder how we decide which proclamations we do and which ones we don't. And I think proclamation for WVC is Me would be awesome. I think our neighborhood night out proclamation is awesome. That would be a great one. But I've also recognized over the last year some that I'm like, a bunch of words on a paper. I don't think it's actionable for the city. So that's my opinion. Take it or leave it.
I know in the past we've spoken about this, and some are just on a national. I mean, if you saw how many come through, there are a gazillion on a national level, and we do sort through, and some we've kept because they're historic. But yeah, if you want more drill down and more actionable, I think we could do that.
More filtering.
Yeah.
So just more local.
I think things that tie to what we're doing. And maybe there's focus of things we want to do, but I think most of these are, well, not most things. Many of them just don't seem to be relatable to what we do on our part. So,
Or within our purview.
yeah,
Okay.
just my thoughts.
Thank you. We'll now go to our public hearing for March 24th, ZT7 2025, and we'll turn the time over to Brock Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Brock Anderson with Planning and Zoning. So this is a request to modify Section 76202 of the City Code, which is the Agricultural and Residential Standards Table. Okay. So there's two small parts of this. So this has to do with accessory buildings in the residential estate zone or RE zone. So the first one, if you look at the table, there's a line for maximum building height for accessory buildings, and it's listed as stories. And as you can see, all the way across and all of the other zones, it was 1, and in the RE zone, it's been 1.5. Which, to be with all honesty, I don't exactly know or can explain why that was the case, but because half a story really doesn't quite make sense, and a lot of it's based on building code. And so this would just be changing it to 1 like all the other zones, which then again falls in line with building code. And then the other item is the setbacks for accessory buildings in the rear yard. So again, most standard R18, R110 residential zones, it's a 1 foot minimum setback from side and rear property lines. And as you can see in the RE zone, it has been 10. And then in all the agricultural zones, it's 10 as well. This would just be bringing it in line with all the other similar residential zones. And if you notice, like the R120 zone, that's a 20,000 square foot lot. So the RE zone is a 15,000 square foot lot requirement, so it's actually smaller, but it requires a bigger setback. So it just, as staff looked at that, it didn't really make sense. I've got a couple examples. So the one on the left, the setback in the rear yard in an RE zone is 30 feet. So if you take if you take the 10-foot setback, and then you have to be 3 feet from the back of the house. That leaves you about 17 feet of distance to put an accessory structure. And then this other image, there are quite a few lots, like in the Newton Farm subdivision, which has the RE zoning, where they got a reduced setback in the rear yard for the home because it was a factor in the 10-foot setback there on all those lots. It doesn't really leave much room. And so, again, this would just bring the setback requirement in line with all other typical single-family zones.
Any questions?
Okay.
All right, we have our resolutions, and we'll turn the time over It's not Miss Meldar, so I'll let you introduce yourself. Resolution 2626.
Hi there. I'm Kimberly Foster. I'm the Deputy HR Director. Paula's number 2. And I worked very hard on this, so that's why she's having me present today. So this is a voluntary leave bank program, an executive order for this. This was brought to us by the employees, and it is a benefit for employees to help employees. So just to go over real quick what a leave bank is, or a voluntary leave bank, it's a shared pool of donated PTO hours that employees can voluntarily contribute. And that would be for eligible only for employees who have a serious medical condition or need to care for an immediate family member with a serious medical condition, and they have exhausted their PTO. So, for example, this could be someone who's worked for us for 3 months or so, doesn't have much PTO. Their wife has a baby and they'd like a few weeks off to spend with her. Normally, they couldn't afford to do that because they wouldn't have enough PTO in their bank. So, the employees could now donate, and this employee could request for some PTO to help take some time off to help their wife care for their baby, or another example is caring for a family with cancer, or if you break your leg on your second week of employment and just need a few weeks off to take care of yourself. So how the program will work, like I said, is employees may voluntarily donate their PTO to the leave bank, which HR will track and manage, and then employees will apply when they need it. HR will review those requests to make sure that they follow under the policy of having a serious medical condition or caring for their family member with the medical condition. And then we will work to approve or deny those requests, and we will distribute the hours to the employees. And then again, eligibility, like I said, medical condition. They must have exhausted their own PTO. This can't be used for vacation, strictly for these medical reasons to help the employees. And again, employees came to us and asked if they could do this. We thought it was a great idea, so we set it up. Any questions?
Questions? I have a couple. So, will they put them into the bank for a specific person within their department? And if not, who will decide who gets the hours first?
Right. So it won't be for specific people. It will just be one pool for all employees. And then the employee that needs it can apply, and HR will manage that. And usually it'll be a first come, first served basis. But go off of who needs it most, kind of thing, if they're going to lose employment or something like that. But we didn't want to do it for specific employees, avoid any scenarios that could be conflict of interest or prejudice against others, or picking and choosing. And then when employees need PTO, and if the bank is empty, what we'll do is just send out an email to everyone and say, hey, we have an employee in need, would anyone like to donate? Here's the form. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
My employer did this a while back. One of their requirements was if you want to receive leave, you must have donated some leave in the last 12 months. So that's a suggestion. And then we switched to a different schedule, so we have Fridays off, and so not having any requests for like 4 years or so.
Oh.
They disbanded the program, but when we had it, that was the requirements. You had to have paid in an X amount of hours to be able to receive.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think the only reason why we did not add that is for our newer employees that need the help just once they've started employment and an emergency issue happens, like a birth of a child or, unforeseen circumstances, and they wouldn't have had the opportunity to donate yet because they were new. Yeah.
I like the bank. I also where there's someone in our office, that cancer, so specific employees would specifically say this goes to Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the bank though. I think that's better.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
I mean, I just within the last 6 months found out that people really do lose their job when they're in the middle of cancer treatment because they don't have time off, which I thought was really bizarre. So anyway,
Okay, thank you so much.
okay, now we'll go to resolution 2627. And we'll turn the time over. Okay, good. Right person standing up. Ms. Melgar.
Kind of tricked you a little bit there. And I'm asking Jim to join me as emotional support since we're talking about money. So we put a committee together to look at some fiduciary services for the city. We wanted someone that would look at our participants' investments in their retirement. And so John Flores, myself, Jim, and Nick Hales were part of that committee. And we wanted to look at our retirement plan governance and enhance fiduciary oversight, improve the participants' outcomes, and ensure that the fee discipline and compliance was up to standards. And so we structured the process with we started with RFI. We had several firms that were interested. They came in and did presentations. We ended up with our top 3 selections. Castro Advisory Services, they're governed by NFP or managed by NFP. Mariner and GBS, they were our top 3. So then we led a documented evaluation. So they came in and did one big presentation for us again. And we selected Kestra, which again is managed by NFP. And they presented to us a comprehensive fiduciary model, strong governance framework. They were responsive and strategic in their approach, and they were the overall best alignment with what we were looking for. As for cost, it's $45,000 annually. It's guaranteed for 3 years. They will provide a full discretionary investment manager, and they will prorate it to the participants the cost of the program. And so we come before you to ask you to approve the agreement so that we can provide our participants prudent fiduciary oversight, governance best practice, and long-term retirement plan success.
Any questions?
Yeah. So basically, they look at Mission Square, for example, and they say, okay, there's like 250 ways to invest here. What are the top 10 that produce the most outcome for our employees? And those are the ones that they will present to the employees. They will also negotiate the fees so that the employees are not paying so much of a fee per investment, so that they get more money out of their investments. Jim is here to ask if you want to ask any financial questions, but NFP, Jeff Scott is also here, so if you have questions for him, he's also happy to address any concerns you may have.
I could probably provide you a little bit more context too on this one. The city has never hired an outside consultant to look at our retirement plan. And so this represents something that is probably long overdue. We have a certain level of expertise inside, but we don't, within the city, but I don't believe that we have enough to cover the analysis of each of the investment programs and the options we have for our employees. NFP will bring that to us. And one of the things that we also recognize is that the city has a little bit of if it's ever deemed that we're not doing the appropriate job for the employees, providing them the best services at the best cost, there's a possibility that the city could be criticized for that and possibly open up that liability because of the fiduciary responsibility. We've elected in this agreement to shift that fiduciary responsibility to the providing company, and we will still maintain control. Basically, we'll have advisors. They'll come and they'll bring us the information, the suggestions that they have, and then as a committee, we'll sit down and we'll say, yeah, that really makes sense, and they'll kind of get our approval for that. However, we'll be shifting that potential liability for the fiduciary responsibilities to the managing company. So we're kind of excited about that. We're expecting a significant savings to the employees. The savings will not only pay for the annual agreement, but it also should accrue back to the employees as benefits to their return on their investment. So we're excited about it. We feel like it's long overdue, and feel like the process to vet the companies that came in, they were all competent. There's none of them we were not pleased with, but we felt like this would probably be our best opportunity. So.
Is there a reason why we're not with URS?
We are with URS. But URS does their own thing. They have their board. They do their thing. We have no say in what URS does, right?
Okay.
So when employee meets with URS, they meet with a representative that represents URS. When they meet with Mission Square, they meet with a representative that represents Mission Square. When they meet with NFB, they meet with someone that represents them and their interests. And so NFP will consult not just on Mission Square, but if the employee wants any investments they have with anyone, they'll look at it and say, we feel this is the best for you, or maybe you should consider this. And they're just there for the employees' own interest, not URS, not Mission Square, not anyone else.
I guess that my question is why do we have Mission
Square. They provide other options for retirement, Broad's IRA, and some other funds that URS doesn't or didn't in the past.
Mission Square has been, they were the successor to ICMA that we did many, many years ago. They provide a broad spectrum of investment opportunities and quite a bit of flexibility. They provide training and a website that the URS really didn't have that robust finance model for people to come in and invest. You can do that with URS. However, we've elected to have Mission Square for a number of years be what they call our record keeper. The record keeper is the one that basically goes out, recommends the investment, and provides the investment portfolio. What NFP will do for us is they'll analyze that and anything else that we frankly are in, and they can bring investments either all with them, with Mission Square, or recommend even that we may even change if there's a better deal out there. With Mission Square, we do have a fairly large portfolio with them, so we do have some economies of scale. But we're not tied necessarily to them. And URS, URS does provide opportunities that we could move if we wanted to. I don't think
What does Mission Square cost the city?
it doesn't cost the city; it's charged to the plan participants. So that's where the savings will accrue.
We have 880 participants with Mission Square right now. Some of them are retired and are taking profit of and there's a total fund balance of $80,848,006. There's also more flexibility with Mission Square. So employees really like the notion that they can put money into Mission Square and make loans. So they can have 2-3 loans with Mission Square, while with URS, they can take one loan and they can't take another one until the first loan is all paid off. So it gives them a little bit more of borrowing their own money kind of flexibility, Mission Square, and a lot of them enjoy that.
Go ahead.
So I guess I'm just a little confused. Which of our employees do you see using this service as opposed to Mission Square? And do they have more than one investment account, or is this something?
Do you want to take that? Sure. Okay. So this Mission Square is used by a good chunk of the employees. It's if they want to have money that comes in. This goes back a lot of years. And so there's a lot of retired employees, there's a lot of current employees that have distributions that go directly from their paycheck to Mission Square for either a 401A and a 457. The options that they have with the management company that we're hiring is to analyze the investments and the opportunities that we have to get the best return on our money. So we would not be investing with Kestra or NFP.
So they're just providing a service.
That's correct.
So Cindy would decide she wants something to put in her account.
One thing that Kester does is they do have a certified financial planners that will meet with us, those that have a true fiduciary responsibility, so there's not a bias. Sometimes when you go with there's a record keeper and the analyst, for lack of a better term, and that's who Kester would be. The record keeper is the one that manages all of your investments and provides the funds. Well, in Mission Square, if you have money with them, they give you a menu of things you can invest in. And they're not necessarily the most cost effective or provide you the best return. A lot of them, if you look at the products, will be Mission Square R5 or R7 or whatever. There's a whole list of those. They're going to certainly generally promote their own products because either they have a better margin for them or higher fee, something like that. So that's why we want to bring this other company in. And it doesn't increase the ability of the ability of the employee to have more options, but it does give them the opportunity to have better savings and probably better performance. So that's what we're looking for.
When you mentioned we're going to turn it up, imagine the city will still have input. So
Yeah, Jeff Scott is here. Yeah, do you want to address that?
Sure. Yeah.
This is Jeff Scott with NFP.
Yes. So we're contractually with the city, we will be a third-party fiduciary. The investment committee still has discretion on what we provide as far as services go. We'll have a list of services we provide. There is a committee that's being formalized to help govern our services. So as we meet, make recommendations, we'll look to the committee to motion to approve those, similar to what we have in a council meeting. So when there are changes, we'll look for the committee to evaluate those and make sure they meet the muster of due diligence.
We just want our employees, whatever money they put in their retirement, that they're not paying the highest fees. And so NFP will make sure the fees are what they should be. And also that they know what are the top performer bonds or whatever for the last 10 years. What has been stable in the last 10 years that produced the most outcome on your investment. And so instead of looking at 250 income, best option for me because that's what I do. They can go to NFP and they would advise them on that.
So NFP?
NFP.
Is that Kestra?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Kester's our RA. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry for the confusion there. Yeah.
That was coming.
The agreements with Kester, we DBA is NFP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't see
Thank
any other
you.
questions.
Thanks, Paul. Good job.
Okay, we'll let Jim stay up here and
Do you want to stay here as my emotional support person? I thought that was
resolution 2628.
That was pretty good. Council, you recall that we looked at this was maybe 2 months ago, and the proposal was to find a way to memorialize the council's intent to address the ongoing needs of the city through resolution for property tax increase. The property tax increase, as you know, is the only major source of revenue that supports the city that we really have a lot of control over. We can't make people buy more. Can't people have them buy more gas, but we do have the ability for the benefit of our citizens to look at the property tax. So with this resolution, we recognize that the costs of doing business for the city continue to increase. They generally don't go down. It doesn't substitute for the truth in taxation process. We wanted to hold off until this resolution came to council after the legislature had met to see what the damage was going to be from the things that they were going to do to us, and it looks like most of it has to do with our timing and our public disclosure and notices. So I've been in contact with the state and also with the county with regards to those items. We had a couple of bills that passed that will affect some of the things that we have to do, but for the most part, we remain in control of our destiny this way. Over time, our purchasing erodes. If we keep the same dollars that we originally had from years ago without making any adjustments, property tax stays the same. That's by the truth in taxation laws that are out there. So if you collected $10 10 years ago, you would still be collecting $10 and hoping to pay bills with that without any increase for inflation if the council didn't take any action. We do collect new growth, which is new construction that comes in, but that does not make up a difference for the increase that would be needed to keep old dollars current with new dollars. So usually any type of new growth also brings additional expenditures. We are proposing that we use recognized benchmarks. There's a municipal cost index and the consumer price index. At least the consumer price index is an index that you're familiar with. That's a standard measure of inflation. The municipal cost index is designed to reflect public sector cost increases, and that's an entity that puts that together is the American City and County publication, and they've done that for a number of years, and that's intended to capture the cost of doing business as a city. This resolution supports a council-driven and data-driven decision-making process. The intent is to smooth out the potential of very large increases that might be needed every few years. One of the things that really drove the legislation this year to change property taxes is that entities, for example, a city might go 10, 20, or maybe never years to implement a property tax increase, and then they find themselves in fiscal crisis. And then you have to go back to the property tax payers and say, okay, well, in order to solve this fiscal crisis, we need a large property tax increase. Looking back at history, we kind of had one of those in 2007. It was in the middle of a recession. We needed to impose about a 65% property tax increase. That happens sometimes. The percent is often very shocking. The dollar amount, however, isn't as shocking as you might think. But nevertheless, we need to do that in order to maintain services. So that's what we're trying to do. This little chart is kind of interesting. This gives you the municipal cost index versus the consumer price index. Oh, my picture is the way up there. I don't know if that's something we want to move. Yeah, let's put that over in the middle, or maybe down there. How about that? Compared to the property tax increases that the city council has approved over the years. Now, we went back 18 years because the 65% increase was prior to that, and that would have skewed all the numbers. So I thought we would take that really big one out rather than just show a big jump. So over the last few years, we've had one for 18.6%. That was fiscal year 2012. We had one 7.6, 2.8, 10.8, 8.23. So over time, that averages, at least this period, about 18 years, a little over 2%. That approximates the increases in the municipal cost index and the CPI. I think that's pretty interesting if we look at it that way, that it's almost like economically we're forced to mirror what's happening in the market. So the idea is to smooth this out and make sure that the shocks aren't as great. The resolution acknowledges that the city has increasing costs. Its objective is to use the benchmarks to guide reasonable decisions by the city council. It reduces the risk of large sudden tax increases in future years. It doesn't eliminate those. It doesn't tie you down to a specific percentage, but it acknowledges the council's decision to rationally make these decisions on an annual basis. It also doesn't create an automatic or unchecked increase. We're required to hold truth in taxation, and you can't find or create a property tax increase by this resolution. It doesn't bypass truth in taxation, and it doesn't remove the council's discretion to act outside of this resolution. but it does memorialize it, and it creates something that I think gives direction to the council and also acknowledges to our taxpayers and to the, for example, the rating agencies, the commercial entities out there that we're willing, or at least trying to address the increasing costs of the city. So if that, hopefully that answers, a good majority of the questions. If you have additional questions, I'd be more than happy.
Any questions from the council? Well explained, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll go to resolution 26-29 and turn the time over to Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kobe Wilson with the Engineering Division. So in February, we had our bid opening for our City Hall parking lot reconstruction project. We actually got a surprising number of bidders. We received 13 bids for this project. The lowest responsible bidder for the project was BH Inc. We have not worked with BH Inc. before. In calling around and checking on them, they've done a lot of work from Utah County up through Davis County with several different cities as well as UDOT. So we feel very comfortable moving forward with the award of this contract. Their bid came in just over $1.1 million. The Public Works Department is asking the council to approve $1.2 million for this project by way of any change orders that might come. I'll warn you in advance, we'll be back really soon with a change order. So the Facilities Division recently did an inspection of the sewer line that serves City Hall, and that came back as in desperate need of repair. So we are right now reaching out to the contractor to get a price to replace the sewer line before we do the parking lot. So once we get a price back on that, we'll be bringing a change order back, which will affect the schedule a little bit of our parking lot project. Obviously, we want to get that underground work done before we pave the parking lot. So you'll see us again soon with that change order, but for the purposes of tonight, we're asking for the approval of this contract with BH Inc. to reconstruct the parking lot.
Any questions from the council? So the green islands, are those going to be turf or?
Really good question. No, so we've actually, working with Jake, we actually hired a architect that's laid out new landscaping for all of City Hall. The artificial turf that's in place now will remain. All of the other areas, there's going to be a lot of small shrubbery, some trees in all the islands. So it's been a full landscape plan with rock mulch. There will still be some actual grass out on Lancer Way in that bigger park strip area that you see down by the sidewalk. But yeah, an overall landscaping plan was developed for this project.
So with the drought situation, why are we putting anything live?
So all the
trees that can take it off what they have.
So the only actual turf that will be going in is like that wide park strip down there off of Lancer Way. But yes, a lot of the other shrubs with if in theory efficient bubblers and so forth for shrubbery and so forth. So we're eliminating a lot of the grass, but there will be still some shrubs and, like I say, trees in all of the islands. So
I was wondering why any grass at all. No good reason.
Valid question. Other than in working with the landscape architect, I believe that was a recommendation came back from them, and that's what we went with. But
like this year, it'll be brown.
This year, I can't imagine we have a lot of water this year.
That's why I'm just like, and with what our climate is doing, I just don't see why putting anything living in would make sense. But.
And I don't think it's too late at this point. I mean, we could definitely present the landscaping plan to council for review, and if you want to make some changes, I think we definitely are still in a time frame right now where we could make those changes.
So. Okay. And then where does the sewer line come out? Are we going to dig into Lancer Way already?
No, fortunately, we will not be doing that. So it actually runs over towards the UTA property, right from our main entrance and heads west. There is a small section that also goes south, but it's all in the parking lot area. So, yep.
Just seeing that patchwork in my head already.
Yeah.
I'm crying.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good save to get the sewer done at the same time. So kudos to everybody that figured that out. Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We have two items on the consent agenda. One is for a reappointment to the PSRB, and the other is to appoint Susan Atkin to the PSRB. Does the council have any questions on either one of these? Seeing none, would the council like to add any or all of the resolutions to the agenda for the March 24th regular meeting?
Agree.
Item A only? That works? Got that? All right. Then we have our communications. We'll have our post-legislative session. We'll turn the time over to Mr. Johnson. Since we have more than one of the Johnsons.
Dan Johnson's always trying to steal my thunder, but it's my thunder today. So, Sam Johnson, Director of Communications and Government Affairs. Hello, Mayor and Council. Post-legislative session update. I have one of those little pyramids that show how many days someone's been gone and when they're coming home, from trips or on missions or whatever it is. And I have one for 311 days because that's when the session starts up again, in 311 short days. It was a weird session because it was my first kind of doing this, but it was weird from hearing from others. There was a lot of challenges on the House and Senate not liking each other, which killed a lot of bills that were not expected to be killed, that had no issues, that were still being shot down by different people in the House and in the Senate. So that was fascinating to watch, and we were a casualty of one of them. We did have funding for one of our roads in the transportation bill that was in it. Everything looked great, and then the final day it was actually pulled with some other funding, even though there was appropriated money for it and all that, it was taken out. So we got Dan's hopes for $2 million in road funding that was pulled the last day just because. No other reason than just because. It affected a few other cities as well, which was a bummer. So I'm going to go over some of the good things. I don't know if you consider this good. 541 bills were passed. That is a lot of bills. I'm going to go through a few. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm going to try to keep it short because I've got 87 bills I'm going to talk you through right now. No, I'm not going to do that. There's just a few. The first one is the homeless bill that you may be curious about. In a surprise, it was House Bill 596, and on a Friday evening, it was failed in committee, which was a shock to everybody. Nobody expected that one to fail. Now, actually, not in committee. It was a House vote that failed. And so there was a lot of panic because this bill affected so many cities, including us. And so over the weekend, there were a lot of phone calls. Thank you to the mayor and thank you to EPO for talking me through it as we talked about some of the different options. And Monday morning, met with the league again to go over it. And the idea was the plan was to come out with an emergency. The wording was extraordinary circumstances to revive the bill. They rarely do it. They discussed doing it, and then they decided not to. And what they did is they put the language that they felt could pass into another bill that it was already working its way through the House. And what they do is they call it a sub. They just do the substitute language. They took about half of that bill, of the old homeless bill, substituted it into this new bill, and it ended up passing. So what does that mean for us? It means a couple things. We have been listed for the last 2.5 years, and I've talked about this, but for the last 2.5 years, we've been listed as a winter temporary shelter. That was started originally that we would be open 12 hours a day at night, and then our homeless community would, for lack of a better phrase, be shipped out and shipped probably to downtown Salt Lake, like Mill Creek's model that happened the year before. We were following the same model until the state decided they didn't like that model and changed it a couple of days before we opened up our shelter. Our shelter has been 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for the last 2.5 years, with no end in sight. The problem with that is we are listed as a winter temporary shelter, which means we were paying into the mitigation fund $275,000 a year for the benefit of having our own shelter, which we were also losing money on it because the state doesn't fully fund it. So this bill changes it, and it does it in a significant way for all of us. It makes it so that we are now considered a Tier 1 homeless shelter city. That is a dramatic change in the phrasing. It's not a dramatic change in how it's been operating. Nothing changes for us. What it does change is that we will no longer pay into the mitigation fund. That removes that $275,000 bill that we pay every year into the shelter. That gets removed. It also will increase our funding for having a Tier 1 shelter. So now that we are one of 6, 7, or 8 cities that have a shelter, we'll now get increased funding because we're Tier 1. There also, in part of this bill, was a mitigation assessment fee of 15% that every city now that does not have a shelter pays a little extra to help all those cities, mainly West Valley City, South Salt Lake, and Salt Lake City, to get a little extra funding to help fully support our current shelter. That's the biggest change, is we will see hopefully savings of $300,000 to $400,000 a year on that. It doesn't change how we operate. It doesn't change any of that. It changes the financial instrument. The other challenge with it, and this is the bad news that I had to share with the mayor and EFO, is this goes into effect in 2027. So we will continue to pay mitigation funding for the next 9 months until next year. That is an IRS tax code and other things that go through it. It's frustrating, it's maddening, and we will continue to pay into it until next year. Are there any questions on all of that, on the homeless shelter? There was the opportunity that we potentially could have not participated in this, but doing so could have created other ramifications for us down the road, with the state either forcing it, making a bigger shelter, coming up with different things. This way, I think, how much of a say did we have in it? Probably not much. And I think we took the way out that I think made sense to the city. And I think in some of the discussions I've had with all of you, we kind of knew where we were at. So
my question.
Yes.
So we are over 2 years already, and we don't know when they're gonna move that shelter out, right?
If ever, correct. Yep. Yeah, there was a lot of talk of the campus shelter model that we've discussed a little in these council. The council shelter model is out there. It is on a bookshelf right now in someone's office, waiting to be potentially opened by the new homeless czar who started this week and is going to be reviewing everything.
You know, it's on bookshelf.
I don't know if he knows yet. No, it has been talked about a lot. He's going to come with a proposal sometime in the next 6 to 9 months. If that happens, in all likelihood, we still will be under the scattered shelter model for a few more years, even if that does happen.
They're going to increase the number of the people in there.
Our beds, from everything that we've seen, with fire codes and everything, if you've been in that shelter, it is a small shelter. 200 is pretty max capacity. Now that and I appreciate you bringing that up, Tom. South Salt Lake and Salt Lake, part of that bill is they have to flex out their homeless shelters to a larger capacity than they're currently at. So they have to go up, I believe, up to 135% of where they are right now. So for like the men's shelter in South Salt Lake, that's adding another 70, 80 people. For us, it really will have no effect in West Valley City. Salt Lake and South Salt Lake will have an effect on that. So, any other questions on that one?
Okay, I'm going to race through a few of these. Please stop me. We talked a lot about charter schools. That bill, after I swear 9 years of working on this bill, it went away. It fell.
9 years, right?
Yes, it sure felt like it. There was so much talk about it. This was the one that was going to give charter schools equal rights to a city to be able to buy a property that's been abandoned by a school district. That looked like it was on the road to passing, and at the last minute, it failed. So we do not have to worry about it. West Valley City keeps first right of refusal on all abandoned Granite School District properties. No charter schools will be involved in that. Mentioned this House Bill 366. This was a real concern to our legal team. The idea behind this bill was before this bill came out, the courts were deciding how they wanted to manage how their cases were being heard and run. We had had a system for a long time where we sent our attorneys for a day or two. They were able to plow through all the cases and get out. The courts wanted to change it, make us go to different courthouses, use up to 30 different judges. It was going to end up potentially affecting us to have to hire 2 or 3 more prosecutors. This bill came out, and this is a very exciting one. This bill came out, and it was the bill sponsor told Ryan Robinson, our chief prosecutor, this bill is dead. It is not going to pass for us, which is too bad because it was going to cost us so much money. And we all went to work. We had a great team. Ryan was knocking every door. Eric made calls. I made calls. We had the league working, everybody in that, and it was revived. And to the court's dismay, it passed. So that protected us. Will not cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to hire new prosecutors. So that was a great win for us. And I skipped over probably one of the biggest wins that we had. And thanks to Harold and for all the hard work he did. Thank you to our representative, Matt McPherson, as well. We received funding for the firing range. It was the first step that I think can hopefully open up some floodgates and additional funding. But we received a $500,000 funding for the firing range. So that was a big deal, and we were appreciative of Matt McPherson. And I can tell you, anytime that I asked Harold about any kind of question, he was jumping on it and running with it. And our legislator really stepped in. Our lobbyist helped as well, and we secured funding for it. That was a great win and really could open up doors because now people see that the state's putting money into it. It could open up other funding opportunities for us to get that funded. So that was a great win, I felt. A couple of bills that will affect Nicole and some of you is filling a council spot. If you remember a few years ago, it was a game of chance how we filled that spot. Will, how did was yours a tie at any point? Cindy's was a tie, and we did a coin toss, correct?
A bunch of coin.
Okay. When did we do the cards? Or we were going to do cards, weren't we? That was during Will's time, but we never had to use it.
Oh, that's right. We were ready with the cards.
So we were going to have a deck of cards. If there was a tie in filling a council spot, they gave us a game of chance, which literally could be cards, and they pick a card and it's a 10, and they pick another card and it's a 3, and the person that picked the 10 wins. That's how it was going to be decided. I don't know if a coin flip is it's still kind of crazy, but it's not as crazy as this. And this bill makes that effective, that it has to be a coin flip, has to be within 30 days of a spot opening up on council. Another one that came with it too was every candidate that's run for a council position and every current council member needs to file a financial annual report by January 10th. So if you have a bank account open for your financial candidacy, for your elections, and if you were a past candidate and you have that account open, you need to file a financial report by January 10th every year showing it. And you have to continue to do that until you completely close out the account to all zeros. So if one of you decides to leave and you leave that account open, every year you need to file that financial report that shows what's in your account. And if you decide, I'm never going to run again, you need to close it out, zero it out, and file that financial report. Or our city recorder, sorry to put the pressure on her, will fine you $100.
Yeah, this one I struggle with because I have a really hard time sometimes getting final campaign statement from candidates who don't win an election. So for me to be able to track this every single year and expect candidates to respond is going to be a little bit difficult. For sitting council members, I don't see that being a problem, but for candidates that don't succeed in the election, I think it will be a challenge, and there's no real way to enforce that $100 fine. I mean, I can issue it and hope that they pay, but
So when's that effective and how far do you have to go back?
I think it's January 10th.
But just January 10th of next year, 27, moving forward.
Yep.
You have to go, okay.
You just have to show if you have an account that's alive for financial purposes, you need to file a financial annual statement with Nicole.
basically your final campaign statement.
Like the county has been doing this forever. So it's now municipalities have to.
There were a lot of bills aimed at Nicole, and Nicole, the one that was kind of wild too was there was part of one of the bills was for every 10,000 residents, you'd have to add a drop box, and at the drop box, you'd have to have 2 poll workers, and when you submitted your ballot to the poll worker to put in the box, the drop box, you'd have to show your valid ID. So if you're taking your husband's, your wife's, your partner's, your kids, whatever, all of them would have to be present showing their ID to deposit it in the bank account. Just the drop boxes alone were like $10,000 to $15,000 to get them installed. That cost alone would have been wild, but this bill actually went very far until
How many drop boxes
it
would that
ended.
have been?
I think we had 15 drop boxes that we'd have to have around the,
And
yeah,
then 30 extra employees.
yeah, yeah. And it was like full time for like that 2 weeks. It was pretty crazy. So that one did not pass. The alcohol bill, it was one of the last bills filed. It was House Bill 597. As you all know, you cannot have a restaurant distributing, selling alcohol within 300 feet of parks, playgrounds, churches, schools, everything, public space, basically. This bill does not include churches and does not include schools, but parks, playgrounds, all of those are now, you're now allowed to have a restaurant selling alcohol within 300 feet as long as the city legislative body approves it and the Department of Alcohol and Beers says, I don't know what's the beverages. It's DABS, so it sounds, yeah, so it sounds like. As long as they approve it, you can now do that. You can now approve a restaurant across next door to City Park that sells alcohol. You can't approve it next to a church or a school. Yep. The gas tax was House Bill 575. This caused some concern by Dan. The bill here decreases the gas tax over the next 9 months, which creates a shortfall for all the cities that were collecting money for transportation use. In our city, Dan and I were just talking about it, $1 million plus that we would be getting from it. That was going to create the shortfall for every city that was getting it. The legislature put in it that they wanted to make all the cities whole. And by doing so, they were pulling it directly from their general fund to reimburse all of the cities so that we will not lose any money because of this gas tax decrease, if that makes sense. So it doesn't really change where we are. It did initially that we were going to have to go, Public Works were going to lose a lot of money on this, but the state is covering it through their own general fund. So that does not affect us.
And how much is the state going to lose? How much is UDOT going to lose?
I don't know about UDOT. The appropriation was for $11 million from the general fund to pay for this.
But UDOT's going to lose $28 million.
28. Okay.
$28 million.
I'm sure they're not loving that.
And this gas tax decrease, what is the length of it?
I think it's 10 months.
Yeah, 6 or 10 months.
Yeah, it's short. You're probably right. It's probably 6 or 7 months now that you say that. I think it is. Yeah, it's wild. And it's a very small, decrease. It's like I don't know if you all saw, we all get a tax benefit this year. And I think they said the average household's like $45 for the year. So, I mean, that's going to be a nice dinner or an average dinner, but it's a lot of money that the state is giving up for a very small benefit for all of us. Sorry, I'm not trying to insert my personal opinion. A couple of things that we were keeping a close eye on was the property tax issues that I think we're all aware of and concerned about, where there was everything from a cap of 5% that council could not approve anything over 5% for a property tax increase. The other one was that if you did any kind of property tax, you would have to have a vote by your residents to approve it. All of those things went away by the end of the legislature. They just kept pulling the different things. The one thing that did stick was the truth and taxation hearings, where it looks like sometime in May, and I know Jim will be right on top of this, probably sometime in late May, you will probably have to do that one and then do the one that you normally do in August. This is a way, according to the legislature, in letting everybody know that there's going to be a property tax increase if you so do it. They just want earlier in the time so that residents can voice their displeasure or appreciation instead of right before you make the actual vote. So,
And that okay is still going to be before we get the certified tax rate from the county, to even know that part of it. And then are we going to have to still have two different budgets, one with the increase and one without, until after it's passed, or did that go away?
That went away, and Jim, jump in. From what I understand on that one went away, that you have to create two budgets, but now you have to summarize in one of them of why you would do a tax increase, what's the benefit and all of that, where it's going. Jim, did I say that right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated that they make us. There's a statement that we'll need to publish with our public notice that says the impact of the property tax, what it's going to be used for. They will also require us in that budget that's presented in May to have a separate line item or fund, and I don't know that the way the legislature wants to do it may not be how it can actually be done, but we'll figure it out, where they take the amount of the property tax and hold it into a separate account line item. So we'll put that out in our disclosure and in our reports. So, like I said when I was talking a little bit before, most of it has to do with disclosure and calculations, and make sure we're on top of that.
Thank you, Jim.
At one point it had that you couldn't spend any of the tax increase until after the August.
I think that is still the case.
Wasn't there?
It is. They didn't quite. Okay. Well, I guess they did kind of say it that way. They said you couldn't spend any of the increase until you actually adopted your final budget and went through truth and tax.
Jim said it's more complicated, which it is, and as people always say around City Hall, Jim is the complicated one and I'm the simple man. So I think that's very clear. Any questions on the session? Any other things that you heard or were wondering? And I first also want to say we had all of our representatives, House and Senate, were very good to work with. There were some that were more responsive, but it's such a busy time for all of them. A couple of the shout outs, Matt McPherson was always on top of it. He worked a lot with Harold during this. He was always texting me on different things. Jake Fatisamanu was texting me 3 or 4 times a week about certain bills and where the city stands. So I think you can all feel comfortable knowing that the people that, even our new senator, who is not even part of one of the two parties, Senator Buss, she was very responsive every time I reached out to her and very supportive of our city's positions. So I was very pleased to work with all of them, and I think you should be proud of the people that were working hard for the city up at the Capitol. It was interesting. I did go up Friday night. It was 11:15, and I'm just sitting there just watching, and I could see Jake down there and see everything going on. And I left too early, but if you didn't hear, one of the bills that was trying to be passed was to have the potential to break up the county depending on, the number of, it was basically aimed at Salt Lake County. And it went at midnight. They had called the vote, so people were voting, but they had not closed the vote. And at midnight and 15 seconds, the final two ended up voting. And if you saw it on Saturday, the Senate, and they tried to say everything's fine. And then Monday they came out and said, we missed it. That bill did not pass. So the legislature is 45 days. And as they said, it's not 45 days and 15 seconds. So a bill that had all the votes, they just hadn't called it at the very end, did not pass because it was after after midnight, which was kind of wild. One of our Nate Bluin, he started just yelling right at midnight, call, it's over. And they kind of shouted him down, but he actually ended up being right. It was over. I missed that. I'm kind of bummed. I was thinking of bringing like a sleeping bag and just sleeping over there, but I did not, sadly. Anything else? Anything that you're wondering? It was a fun year. It was fun. So I appreciate the opportunity, Ipo, to do this. And there's lots of things planned for next year to increase our communication with all of you and our current legislators. And we had some real successes but a lot more that I think we could accomplish next year as well. Anything, Mayor, that you wanted to add?
No, I think you did a really good job, so thank you.
That's very nice.
Appreciate all your effort up there. You spent a lot of time.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. And the mayor was always on top of it. I would call her about certain things, and she's like, I already texted our legislator, and I'm on it, and she was great. And we'll figure out how to involve more of you if you're interested next year as well. So
more text messages does let them know that the entire
it makes
council,
a big difference.
It really does.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, our council calendar did not load correctly.
Yeah, I tried to it's not loaded on yours. I'll work on it. But I think there's just an error with
Email it out. Okay. Any potential future agenda items? No? Okay, council reports. Okay, go ahead.
Just attended boarding
boarding house
task force. Great, good to see some information. I learned a lot, and then I also attended virtually the community meeting with the chief on parking enforcement, which there were a lot of questions and a lot of people submitted ahead of time.
Perfect. Anyone else?
Attended a few of the synchronized skating. I didn't say to watch them actually compete. I've done that before. But, looks like a good opportunity for West Valley and for the Maverick Center too. Going in the Maverick Center besides arena football.
So in this room last Thursday, Blue Haven neighborhood came and did their annual meeting, and our staff supports that so well. We had police, so many different departments, code enforcement. So I really appreciate everybody that comes and helps them out and gives them instruction. But they had a pretty good, probably 30 people here for their neighborhood meeting, so that was really good. Where is that? Blue Haven?
District 2. It's 47, between 47th and 41st.
Uh-huh.
And 27th and 36th.
So it's very well run. The person who's been running it for the last, I don't know how many years, is stepping back. She started stepping back 3 years ago. She's still 100% here.
Involved.
Lynette is still here all the time, but they do a great job. I mean, and we tell them every time, you have the blue ribbon. We just need more to be just like you, and it's great.
It's mentioned. We may want to do some training, like training videos based on Blue Haven to give to other people, because they do it so well.
They do it good. And then I love that kind of early to go to the CRC recital at the Scottsdale And it is so fun to watch those kids over the last 4 years improve so much. I mean, and I still say the 80-year-old plus guy taking an instrument lesson for the first time is just fun to watch. So it's been really good to go out to that. And they have such, I mean, they're doing so many more things that I found out that they're doing in the community. So it's really working out, and they're really excited to get the other buildings up and going. And so that's been good. And then there was more. Remember them all? Yes.
I couldn't either. I'm looking.
Okay.
I attended the Community First Friday over at the Cultural Center.
Oh, okay.
Los Hermanos de los Andes. And I forget the name of the dancing group. Very good program. Wife wasn't feeling too well that night. She said, "Can we just go make an appearance?" And I said, "Sure." The whole time. She didn't look at me and said, "Let's go." But programs that they're putting on over there at the Cultural Center are continuing, and they're well attended. One of those things that just keep happening. We forget to thank them for what they're doing.
Good. Thank you. Yep, it is well run over there. Okay. I don't see any more reports. We do have need for a closed session for deployment of security. If someone would like to make that motion, and then we'll close our meeting with no other business.
Motion to move into closed session to discuss security and no. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Kennedy.
Yes. Councilmember Whitstone? Councilmember Hartman? Councilmember Tatum? Councilmember Christensen?
Yes.
Councilmember Nordfeld?
Yes.
And Mayor Link?
Yes.
Motion passes.
5 minutes and then. Oh, yeah.